Hello, hope everyone's having a great day. I'm going to do a video on the parking brake system on a 1845 case. This particular model is 1845C. I'm in the midst of restoring it, but as most of you know, these parking brake systems can be a nemesis on these machines. They engage and end up doing a lot of damage, but this is the main shaft that the parking brake system goes into. Everything slides down into here. There's some pulleys that the cables go through, which I'll get to in a second, but this is the main parking brake system. You've got the main shaft on the end that engages and disengages into the chain cases. That goes into a gear that has holes around it. So as the gear turns and we raise the lap bar, as you raise the lap bar, this engages into that cog, gear drive, whatever you want to call it, and stops the machine. One of the big problems with these are these springs right here, and as you can see from this one, they break in half. They break in half over cycle duty and come apart. So you can get those through case, or you can look for those springs at some of the local hardware stores. Here in Denver, we have a store called Jack's, and they have a huge selection of different springs, so that's where I get mine from. But got the shaft. Next thing you have is these cables. These cables crisscross each other under the machine seat. And that's the other problem, is the cables start to fray. And so when I restore these, what I like to do is I run the parking brake cables through fuel line so that they don't rub on each other. Otherwise, you end up with a problem that I have over here. I'll show you a couple of these broken ones. They come apart. They fray apart, break apart, and snap. When these snap, it engages the parking brake system. You can't disengage it, and that's where people get into trouble. So up here on the unit itself, you'll see the shafts where the whole unit goes into. This bar across the top that I've got painted here in red, as you lower and raise the lap bar, this bar rotates. And so as you raise the lap bar, it pulls this up, and it pulls the pins out of those shafts. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So, got the end of the setup. You'll see that it slides down into here. There's some sand in there because I sandblasted this, so I'm going to have to clean that out. But it'll slide down into there. Got to get that greased up. Next in line comes the spring. And the spring has a cylinder that goes down the center of it. That's just to keep it from compressing down all the way. And that those rarely break or anything happens with those. And then you've got a washer that goes on top of that spring. Now that washer, once it's kind of hard doing this with two hands or one hand and trying to hold the camera with the other. This all shoves down into that assembly. The only reason this washer is here is there are pins that go in here that slide in. They keep this whole assembly loaded under pressure, spring pressure. Now down in your chain cases, down in here, that's where those, and it's very hard to see, if not impossible, that's where that parking brake assembly engages and disengages. 9 out of 10 times you're going to have issues with the cable breaking and or the spring breaking. These are not complicated systems. They're actually pretty easy to fix. There is an adjustment on the end of the shafts that right here, you can loosen the lock nut on there, adjust them in and out. The way I do it is I have someone cycle the seat and lap bar for me as I reach in and I feel through one of the holes to see how far it is disengaging. The problem on these come with not getting full disengagement. That's why they tell us to rock these machines back and forth a little bit before you take off after you've put the lap bar down. That takes the tension off that pin and allows it to disengage. If you try to go forward too hard, you will, and I promise you, rip this entire shaft outside of the casing, and I have a picture of that when it's done. These are powerful machines, and that's a single weld. So not a huge issue to service these. Probably one of the neglected issues. Most operators or mechanics will remove these things and say, oh, they're not worth it. I completely disagree. You don't want these machines rolling forward on you. Not a good thing. Hope that helps.